because we all know, like, all right, production starts, project manager takes it, right? But you really should bring in the person who's going to build it early, much earlier than that.
Two projects downtown, so I was bouncing around between both of those. But since it was a nice day, my one friend, I think you met, my buddy, is a sergeant in one of those areas. So I stopped to meet him for lunch. That turned into a long lunch. I met another buddy in the city. He had my bicycle with me, just hit some bike trails, and then stopped after that. So it was kind of, just kind of enjoyed the day as much as I possibly could, and
Nice.
lost track of time. Yeah,
Fun.
yeah,
Good.
it's a good time. Yeah, good time.
Nice. I was just coming back from my project, and the tile guys were just finishing up. They were eager to try to get the grouting done on the floors, and then get some caulking done in the corners, and then they were wondering if they could work till 6 o'clock tonight to try to push through and get it all done and finished. So
Nice.
I love.
That's quick tile guys.
Yeah, they actually did a really good job. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have anything. I don't think I have anything bad to say about them. They did good. It was the first time I was using them. They were tiling 3 bathrooms all at the same time, and they did it in.
Okay.
There was only 2 guys. They did a powder room, so the only tile in the powder room was the floor, and then we had the other bathroom was a walk-in shower, so we had all the walls. We had a custom sized shower pan. Yeah, so we had a shower pan made, and then from there up was all tile, and then we had all 3 walls there, and then we had the floor in the bathroom tiled as well, and then we also had tile baseboards in there.
Okay.
So the tile on the floor didn't have its own baseboard tile, where you can have a bullnose tile for that. So what we did was we cut the floor tile and then topped it with a Schluter edge profile and called it a day. And then the other bathroom, that was a tub with all the walls tiled, and then we had the floor tiled as well in the bathroom, and then we had a baseboard tile as well in there. Now this one did have a baseboard tile specifically for baseboard, and it was a bullnose tile. So that one we did there. So we did. They did all of that, and they started Wednesday last week, and it's what? Wednesday today. So
Wednesday.
So in
3 bathrooms. That's a lot of tile work, yeah.
I thought.
Yeah.
I was impressed. Yeah.
Yeah.
They knocked it out.
Quality's good.
Now
quality's good. Finish is nice. No complaints.
Yeah. So it's technically 6 days because they did work on Saturday. So they came in, the customer gave us the okay on coming in on Saturday. So yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, the quality's there. Like I don't think I could have done a better job. Like they did great.
Fantastic. How'd you like the Schluter trim? How'd you like the Schluter trim as opposed to a bullnose?
I don't like the Schluter edge. It's too much of a ledge. It's too much of a flat surface.
Just a square edge finish.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a thing the designer did, and I don't know, like it wouldn't be any different if we had a flat stock baseboard. Like a wood flat.
Does the finish match the tile? Does the Schluter finish match the tile, or is it like a metal?
It's a metal finish, and we matched the like the finishes of the faucets.
Okay.
Instead of instead of trying to match the grout. Now, in my opinion, I probably would have tried to match the grout lines color and not the finish color of like the faucets, because the grout lines and the tile are going to be touching and the the profile is going to be touching each other. And the faucet color is going to be way but it doesn't look bad. It looks good.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just like,
all right, that's good.
I don't know.
Different.
It's just too square for me. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Like if you look at the picture of the baseboard tiles in the other bathroom that do have the bullnose,
Mm-hmm.
I think that looks a little bit better. But each their own.
Yeah. Okay.
Each their own. And you know how much I like to create and be creative and and it be my design. Like it's very difficult for me to like just shut my mouth and
yeah.
But
sometimes.
Yeah, but as an artist, I fully recognize that a designer, that's her painting, right? Or her drawing, or her creation, or his. And for me to come in and like say, well, why don't we do this, or why don't we do that, or it's like somebody coming and looking at one of my drawings and like saying, well, why did you make the eyeball so small?
Yeah.
They kind of be careful and just put in your 2 cents when it's wanted or needed, per se, especially with the construction side of it, like the building side of it. But if it's truly just like an aesthetic detail that is chosen, then you have to realize that designer has had some level of communication with the homeowner on that detail. So for you to come in after the project has already been signed, sealed, and delivered, right? The presentation, the contract signed, and then some project manager comes in and goes, well, why don't we do it this way? Right? Like, no, pencils are down. Like, no more, right? And I don't know, this is a good segue. And we just hired a new project manager, and I created a little like flowchart timeline on when is the best use of his time in the pre-construction part. Because we all know, like, all right, production starts, project manager takes it, right? But you really should bring in the person who's going to build it early, much earlier than that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Sure.
And so I'm bringing him in multiple different strategic places throughout the pre-construction design stage, right? And so we decided, how do you transfer that knowledge? So the designer comes up with this big project or this big plan, and now we have to implement it. How do I get all of that knowledge out of her head into the project manager's head, right?
Yeah.
Without revisiting all of those conversations that they have had. And without your project manager just stepping in it, right? And just like putting his foot in his mouth by saying, well, why don't we do it this way? Well, even if it's a better way, it doesn't matter, because that conversation on a good designer probably has already been made. And there's a specific reason why that was decided. For some reason, maybe that's what the homeowner wants. I don't care that that's the better way. I want it this way.
Right.
Okay. But then for you to come in and, put your 2 cents in at the wrong time and not know the conversations that have already gone by.
Yeah.
How do you relieve that pressure on both sides. So I think by
Very good
bringing your
question.
project, yeah, but I think by bringing your project manager in early. So what do you think? Let me ask you.
Well, I think a
When
couple
would you?
things. So
What do you think?
one, I'm laughing to begin with because I literally just put my foot in my mouth about 4 hours ago in a very similar situation, right? So one of the buildings I work downtown is through an interior designer, and I mean, obviously, I work differently than you do. It's this. I'm not a design build,
Right.
so this is all independent people, which I appreciate. You know, I love the independent designer here, there, and I'm independent, so I like that. You know, um, but she had picked colors already for all of these. This is this 21-story building we're doing. All the colors are picked out. They were deciding between two wall colors. One was like Balboa, L. Benjamin Moore. One was a Balboa mist, so it's a pretty pure white, kind of a warmer white. And then there was one that was a Nimbus that had like a really slight tinge of like a gray to it, really slight. So we put both those samples on the wall yesterday, and they were going to have the board walk through and see what they decided for the wall color. And then she called me yesterday, the designer called me yesterday the end of the day, and she said, Todd, would you mind putting a sample of the trim color on the wall also? And I said, yeah, I said, that's fine. So I called her this morning and I said, do you want me to put a sample because they're not sure about the trim color, or they just want to see it next to the wall color so they can make that decision? And she said, no, we're done on the trim color, but they want to see that next to the wall color. I said, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But I said, I wanted to ask because I'm not going to go buy a little sample. I'm just going to go buy a gallon because we're going to use it anyways. So she goes, yeah, that makes sense. So I go buy the gallon. I put this on the wall. And I let it dry. I came back. I put a second coat on later. I let it dry. And then she calls me later and she goes, did you get the trim colors on the wall today? And I said, yeah. I said, they're on there. And I said, hey, as long as I got you, you know that trim color reads kind of like bluish. Like there's a blue cast to that. It's called like gravel gray. So I thought like from the picture, from if you look at Benjamin Moore website, I thought it's like a charcoalish, like gray, pretty deep gray color, but it's got a lot of blue. So I told her, I was like, this reads very blue. Like I said, have you used this color before? And she goes, yes. And I was just like, okay. So she goes, that's what they wanted. And I said, oh, all right. I said, my fault. Sorry. I said, I said, given the color of it, given the name was called gravel gray, I just didn't expect it to be blue. I was expecting more of like that charcoalish gray color.
Yeah.
It looked awful, but I'm not going to, I didn't say that part, but it looks awful and it's going to look awful.
Just shut your mouth and put the color on the wall like you're told.
Yeah. So that's super hard. But to your point, it's like, okay, she's had multiple meetings about this. I mean, and showing them everything. Here's my 3D renderings, walking them through everything. These colors go really well together. We're going for these tones. We're going to have this kind of lighting. She's done all that legwork. So I'm just supposed to implement it and make sure it goes as smoothly as possible. No one asked my opinion on the paint color, but I gave it anyway. Yeah. And I was like, this isn't the right color.
Yeah.
You have to be colorblind if you think this is the right color. But
your opinion was free that day or today.
Yeah. And it was probably not really welcome. I mean, I was careful, I was careful with my words. I told her, I was like, I'm not sure if you know how this reads because it's blue. Like it's got a pretty strong blue tint. And it's like, it doesn't look good. It doesn't play well off of a warm white, but whatever. What do I know?
What do you know, Todd? Yeah.
Nothing. I know nothing. I just put it, I'll just put it on the walls. That's it.
Oh yeah.
Back to your question, like having that I think you're right. Having that conversation up front and bringing the project manager in earlier so that any of those little subtle questions that just pop into your head because you look at this stuff all day can come up super early. And you're like, hey, just, and depending how that's approached, right? Like you don't want to step on a designer's toes because like you said, that's kind of their baby, that's their vision, whatever you want to call it. But I think most project managers are pretty opinionated. You're in management, you're going to have an opinion. You see this all the time. You know what works, you know what doesn't. So I think implementing that early and saying, yeah, you know what? Hey, did you consider this, or have you thought of this? Or hey, you know what? We've done this before and it looked awesome. Like, I think those kind of things, as even as a designer, they should welcome that from someone else who has experience in the field, right?
Agreed, 100%. Well, I mean, yeah, 100% they should. Not 100%
It
they
should.
would. Yeah,
I think.
right.
Right.
Um,
I think
and it,
if you're in the design process, you need to keep a slightly open mind as to
yeah,
what really works.
as long as that is brought at the right time and early on, when before possibly those conversations have been, you know, finalized, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want, your cabinet designer to finally finalize all of the cabinets and all of the things, and accessories and, the pullouts and all that. And then you come a month later and go, well, what if we did a lazy Susan instead? Like,
Yeah.
no, no, we're not. Pencils are down. This has already been decided and agreed upon, and we've had those long conversations about what was going to go where. Like, we don't want to go back to the drawing board, right?
Right.
So that's why I think it's really important to bring them in early. So,
Yeah.
you know, it, in your business, it it would be great to, that designer knowing who he or she's going to work with. So if he knows that, or she knows that they're going to work with you, they should be bringing you in on some of those conversations, or just keeping you in the loop, or asking you ahead of time, is there any issues that you foresee with these selections before I move forward with the next set of selections, or something like that.
Sure.
It's a little bit easier when all of it's in house with us, with the design build situation. It's a little bit easier. We're all just an office away from each other, just making
Yeah.
sure that, yeah. So I just think that it that's where my mind was in the beginning of the week anyway. Or the end of last week. That's where I was.
Okay.
Just making sure, bringing him on, and you know, and I asked his input too. When does he want to be brought on? Before I built the timeline, I wanted to see where his head was, and if it was going to be any pushback on bring him in early. Is he the type of guy that's just like, I don't care, just give me the plans and I'll eat it together, which is
Right.
not would not have been the right answer for us. And I knew he wasn't that kind of guy anyway, but yeah. So we ironed out, in my
Okay.
timeline, and to bring him in early, and having him sit down with the designer and me, the production manager, and also having him sit with the production coordinator, which is production coordinator for us is like the person who's um, managing all of the estimates in the beginning and collecting all that information, but then also purchasing everything for us too, keeping track of all the purchases and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this person fulfilling an already existing role, or is this an add-on? Like is a new role? Okay.
Yeah. Well, production is starting to really ramp up for us, and so we foresaw that coming. So we finally were like, all right, we need to bring in a project manager, and we should have already been there, but we had what we are calling 2023 was a building year for us. I like to say that was Lego year, where
Okay.
we had to rebuild.